Good afternoon, class. We're going to start our math lesson, so please take out your math books. So we're going to start a new unit today involving decimal numbers. So our last unit, we worked with fractions. So now we're going to take it a next step because the two are related, okay? So now we're going to work with decimal numbers. Decimal numbers are really important to learn about because they are used in our everyday lives. How many of you know what a decimal number is? Okay, a few. How many of you have worked with money or have seen, let's say you go to the store and you see that milk is $2.35. That's a decimal number. Okay, so you actually see it a lot in your life. If somebody says they went 4/10 of a mile, we know what that is as a fraction, but we're able to write it as a decimal, and oftentimes it is written as a decimal. So it's really important that we understand those place values and understand decimal numbers because you're going to see it a lot in your life, especially with money. Okay, and we need to understand money and the value of it as well. So let's get started. We're going to start with a quick review of fractions because it is related to this unit. We need to make sure we have that down pat, okay? So what is a fraction? Right, so it's a number that is part of a whole. So it's that a fraction is a part of a whole. So if I have a half of something, I have a part of it. Okay, what's the top of a fraction? What's that called? Numerator. Good. What about the bottom? Denominator. And how do we say a fraction? Let's say I have 3, my fraction line, and a 4. 3/4, right? So that THS, that's really important for our decimal numbers as well, okay? So we're going to get started. So a decimal number is a number with one or more digits to the right of a decimal point, okay? So we've worked with regular numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. What we're adding is this decimal point. And then now we're going to have place values to the right of that decimal point that add value to that number as well. So we have our regular ones place. And here, I'll switch this out so it's a little bit easier to see. So we have our ones place, our hundreds place, and our thousands place, which we are used to seeing in our numbers. Or excuse me, ones place, tens place, and hundreds place. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so those are our place values for those. Then we add this little decimal point here, and to the right, there's no oneths place, okay? It starts with the tenths place. So we have the tenths place, and we have the hundredths place, okay? So the rule is, with this decimal point, if a number is placed one place to the right of that decimal point, it's tenths. If the number is 2 places to the right of the decimal point, it's hundredths. And there are more places and values, but we are just focusing on tenths and hundredths for now, okay? So if it's 1 place to the right of that decimal point, it's tenths. If it's 2 places, it's hundredths, okay? So if we look at this number here, we have 0.8. It is 1 swing over, so it's out 8/10. So that's where our fractions come in. Okay, that 8/10 written as a decimal is 0.8, so we know it's 8/10. Okay, so if we look at this next one, we have 0.2. It's 1 place value to the right of that decimal, so it's 2/10. And as my fraction, it would look like that. Okay, so what about hundredths? Is that 1 place value to the right or 2? Right, it's 2. So if we look here, we have 0.01, which is equivalent to 1/100th. Okay, or 100th, okay? So it's really important that we look at that decimal point and then where the numbers fall after that. So same with this one. 0.05, it's not 5/10 because it's 2 place values to the right of that decimal. If it were 5/10, it would be in this first spot. But because it's in the second, it's out of 100, so it's 5/100. So how do we feel about that so far? It's a little bit tricky because we've never worked with decimal numbers before. Right, it's important to remember that rule, and I'm going to hand out some visuals, like a little graphic organizer with these rules that are going to help you when you're doing your independent work, okay? So now, let's walk through these, okay? If I have 0.7, it's only one place value to the right of that decimal, so what is it going to be? Tenths, good. If I have 0.2, is it one or two places to the right of the decimal point? One, so it's tenths. How about this one? 0.05? It's two, so what is it out of? Hundredths, good. 5/100. What about this one? 0.08. Right, it's two place values to the right of the decimal point, so it is 8/100. Okay, I would like you to work with your desk partner and tell me what these two decimal are as fractions. Okay, what is the first one? Is it one or two place values to the right of the decimal point? Two, good. So what is it, 6/10 or 6/100? 6/100. And what about the second one? Correct, it's 9/10 because it's one place value to the right of the decimal point. Very good. Okay, with a partner, I'd like you to look at the two examples I have up here and tell me whether they are correct or not. Okay, so written out, it says 1/10, my fraction is 1/10, and my decimal is 0.01. Is that correct? No, because it is two place values to the right of the decimal point. So it would be out of 100, right? So it's hundredths. It should be 1/100. And what about this top one? 3/10. My fraction says 3/10. What does my decimal say? Good. My decimal is correct. 0.3, 3/10. Okay. You see, you guys seem to be getting a hang of this, so I'll have you guys try these bottom two, okay? So remember, one place value to the right, tenths. Two place values to the right, hundredths. Please write them on your whiteboards and then show me, please. So remember the rule. If it's one place value to the right, tenths. If it's two, hundredths.